I've drawn on a ton of crazy surfaces from cotton candy to literal gold. And in this video, I put the top 10 together to make the ultimate drawing on movie. Well, it's only like a 5-minute movie, but you get the point. Starting with Fluff. Out of all of them, this is probably the smoothest sailing video. I ran into some problems with the pencil not working, but I was able to get around them and it worked pretty well. The coloring went way better with basically no problems, although the shadows barely worked because the Posca paint doesn't dry on Fluff. After adding the lining though, it turned out to be a decent drawing minus the eyes. Next up, we have cotton candy. This was probably my favorite drawing to make because it really just didn't seem possible. That's a common theme for most of these drawings, but this one I really didn't think would work. I was expecting the paint to completely dissolve everything, and it actually did dissolve a tiny bit, but nowhere close to all the way through. The lining went super well too, and this actually turned out to be a decent drawing. Now we're on to Fluff. I know not everybody knows what it is, but it basically tastes like marshmallows, but in a different form. I definitely ate way more than I should have while filming this, and it was super sticky, so it got all over everything. Also, I didn't show it in the short, but all the markers I used got messed up and barely worked. I've destroyed more markers than I'd like to admit. The final drawing turned out pretty awesome. Up next is watermelon. I really had no clue what to expect for this one, but I managed to immediately mess up one of my liners doing the sketch. The normal Posca markers did really well though, and I was able to fully color them in and do the line. The one problem was that all the paint wanted to blend together because of the water in the watermelon, but it turned out decent and tasted good. Without the paint, do not eat paint. Moving on, I drew on an Orbeez. This thing was a pain to make. The pencil didn't work, the liner kinda worked, but because there's always a coat of water around the Orbeez, they're basically impossible to control. I literally had to make a stand for it out of clay to at least get it to stop rolling around. The Posca marker sorta worked on it, but the paint has nothing to stick to, so it just flowed out in whatever direction it felt. Honestly, this is probably the worst drawing out of all of these, so let's move on to Hunt. This is one of the first weird things I ever drew on, so I was really in for a surprise. I didn't even bother doing a sketch and just used a marker to get the shape of Gumball's head, but my marker quickly stopped working. The paint also slowly expands outwards, so I had to be fast if I wanted it to look half decent. The white marker I used to do the eyes also died, so at this point you would expect that I would spare my markers and at least swap over to a paintbrush. But no, I was dedicated to ruin more markers. At least it kind of looks like Gumball. Next, we're on to Jello. This was the second weird surface I ever drew on, so once again I was inexperienced. Thankfully though, I was able to do a bit of a sketch by putting marks in the Jello, and it didn't mess up any of my markers. The one problem is that the paint wouldn't dry fast enough, so things kind of blend together, but it was one of my better drawings. I can't say the same about the lemon drawing. This one was absolutely brutal. Before I even started filming, I got some lemon in a cut, and I was in pain. I couldn't add any form of sketch because the pencil didn't work, and when I tried to use a liner, it completely messed it up. It still doesn't work today. I wasn't expecting the same thing to happen with my paint markers though, because it's a completely different type of marker. But boy was I wrong. It utterly destroyed them. They also don't work anymore even after washing the tips out. The drawing turned out terrible too. Next up on the tip of a marker. For the first time of this entire video, I was able to use a normal pencil to do a normal sketch. It was a small canvas to be drawing on, but it still worked surprisingly well. I also was expecting the paint to completely blend with the white and look super weird, but nothing really happened. I was able to add more details than usual. Something I didn't show in the video is that you can sort of use it as a stamp when you're done. And finally, drawing on gold. You can actually get real gold leaf like this for about $50 on Amazon. The reason it's so cheap is the same reason why it's so difficult to draw on. It's incredibly thin, 400 times thinner than a human hair thin. Despite that, I somehow managed to do a normal sketch, and coloring all went like a normal drawing. I just couldn't press down at all, otherwise it would mess up the whole thing. I think it turned out awesome. This playlist right here is the full versions of everything you just saw and more, including a short where I literally drew on a grain of sand, so go check it out. Hey, while the screen is up, you might as well subscribe too, I'm not begging. It would be nice if you subscribed. You don't have to though. I mean, I would even consider you like a cool person if you subscribed. If I was your doctor, I would highly recommend subscribing. Again, I'm not begging. I'm just recommending it, please.